Guys, we are back. It's Zach's Gun Rants, Part 2. The gunning. The re-gunning? Extra gunny edition. I don't even have anything else to say. You guys know what you're in for. I know what I'm in for. Let's get into it. But first, I want a word from our sponsor. Guns are cool, but nothing beats the feeling of enchanted steel in your hands. And while we can't use magic weapons in real life, we can in today's video sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. That's right, guys, the wildly popular PC and mobile game. It's got 600 different champions, 14 unique factions, and over 1 million daily active users. Use the links in my description to download Raid on mobile or PC. Today, I wanted to profile the newest boss in the Raid universe, the Hydra. What makes it so tough is that it's got multiple heads, but unlike the Hydra of Myth, each one of those heads is an endgame boss into itself. For example, the Head of Suffering uses its Pain Link ability to reflect damage back onto your champions, so you have to debuff that ability to stand a chance. Or the Head of Decay, whose passive will drain your champion's max HP each time they heal. Not only that, but its life barrier will shield other heads as they heal. So you have to make sure you break that shield before that head heals all the way. What's cool about Raid is that so much depends on your ability to have synergy among your champions. It's not enough just to have high-level champions. They have to all work together, and you have to think strategically to build out your team. For example, the Demon Spawn Countess can deal a ton of damage, but you should partner her with Duchess, who can heal, protect, and revive the team. This month, Raid isn't just adding the new boss, they are giving away a limited edition champion to every single player in the game, new and veteran. It's based on esports legend and Navi superstar Simple. Between now and January 28th, Simple's limited edition champion is available for free. All you have to do is log in 7 days between now and the 28th, and it's yours. And of course, Raid has special holiday events, including fusion events, so you can get your festive champions. This is the time to get started. Hit the link in the description or scan my QR code and you'll get the Epic Champion Tyrell, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon champions as soon as you get in game. You can find all this in your inbox in the top corner of the screen when you log in. Be sure to check out Raid Shadow Legends, and thanks again to Raid for sponsoring today's video. Okay, now let's get into it for real.
I just threw up a little bit looking at that thing you're holding.
Yeah.
We need 2 people with ranged guns.
No, we need 4 people with the same firearm.
Okay, what I'm seeing right now is, I'm gonna guess and say it is like a FAMAS that has gone through like a series of horrific mutations. That is what it looks like. It's bullpup-like, it has a FAMAS style can't carry handle. But what is this flash hider? What is this flash suppressor or thing?
Arm. That way, instead of covering our weaknesses, we'll just have a big old strength.
It's logic like that that led to the Bradley. God, what a nightmare of a vehicle that thing is. At least the modern ones kind of work.
Have you ridden in one?
Yeah. I had to know how to fix the main gun on one.
I didn't.
For those of you that don't know, he is talking about the Bradley story, which I also reacted to and found to be extremely aggravating.
Just tell
It's worth checking out.
me how that qualifies as small arms. That's what I tell people. My job while I was in the military was to fix everything from 9mm pistols to 155mm howitzers. And that included the M242 chain gun on a Bradley.
That's a lot of millimeters to fix.
Muchos milímetros.
I mean, that is actually preposterous. Because you have to think that the firing mechanics involved in those larger caliber weapons are so different from small arms repair. But I used to think I knew the definition of small arms. Because as far as I know, small arms are weapons that can be deployed by an unmounted soldier. So a 50 cal or Mark 19, not actually small arms, right? If you can carry them, so up to an M240 Bravo would be a small arm, even if it's crew served. It just transitions away from small arms once it becomes something that has to be mounted on some sort of vehicle.
We just gotta
Check out my Panko check.
Okay, so I don't know, he's probably not going to talk about the issues with the Bradley. So I'll give you guys a little bit of context. The Bradley is a troop carrier. Now, it was designed in the like 70s, right? So kind of the mid to late Cold War. And it's because the US Army was expecting a armored tank warfare on the plains of Europe. They thought that that was the threat the Soviets posed. They had a gazillion armored divisions. The problem was that the Army realized there was no way to get troops from, say, like the port or airport where they would arrive to the front lines relatively safely, right? Where they'd be able to go quickly, but also not get, you know, blown up with artillery strikes, or be able to traverse like kind of rough terrain. So someone said, hey, we need a tracked vehicle to do this. And it's got to have a little bit of armor. But the problem is that the Pentagon always does this, but in the 70s, it was so much worse than it ever had been before, where every single stakeholder, every person and organization gets to weigh in. They get a vote, right? And there's something called the action bias, and that is the idea that you have to, like, it doing nothing and just approving it and moving the designs along isn't you doing your job. You have to be seen doing your job, or else you'll look lazy. And to avoid looking lazy, you have to add something, even if it's total nonsense. And that's what happened to the Bradley, right? So originally, it was supposed to be just an armored truck. Shuffle people right up to the front lines, right up to the cities. Like the armor would push up and would stop at a city, and it would say, hey, we need infantry to clear this, and the Bradleys would roll up, dismount their infantry, go back and pick up more. That was sort of the fighting doctrine. Well, one general was like, you know, the Bradley should be able to defend itself. Someone said, okay, we'll add a machine gun on top. Then someone else was like, well, the Bradley should have night vision sights. And then someone else was like, well, what if we made the gun modular? Someone else was like, well, let's put a chain gun on there. Someone else was like, well, why don't we give it a 155, like a millimeter cannon, right? Like an indirect fire cannon. And iteration by iteration, the Bradley went from just a truck with a little more armor than the Army currently had to something that looks like a very badly designed tank. It actually almost fulfills the role of a tank, but worse in every single possible way. It carries very few troops. It's way over armored. It has all this armament that is not at all necessary. And it's a monument to this idea that more and more features got added onto it, making it less and less usable. This is, you know, you've probably seen it yourself, right? Have you ever bought, say, an appliance in the last, I don't know, decade? You may notice that your microwave has 400 million buttons, and you can program it to play you a song, cook a bag of popcorn, reheat a potato, right? You can do everything. But do you notice that you actually it makes it harder sometimes to just get the microwave to heat? To like, I want you to heat up my ramen. It's actually a really pretty tall ask to be like, hey, microwave this at full power for a minute 30, right? Or, you know, there's a lot of appliances like that. My coffee pot has like 15 features I never use. And when you over design something, when you over feature it, it begins to hinder the user interface. It makes it less functional, right? Some of the best designed gear, civilian or military, knows exactly what it's meant to do, and it does one, maybe two things, and it does it top notch. That's the best gear, whether it's a fighter aircraft or an entrenching tool. And the military does such a good job of losing sight of this because every single person wants to add their little stamp, their little mark on this thing. And it's the worst way of doing acquisitions.
Jackhammer, yeah, I'm gonna drill you. I want to press forward, but we got some narrow chokes here. Cover me, I'm reloading! And my weapon's jammed! And also parts of it are broken, and I can't find replacements!
Yeah, and you have to disassemble 90% of your gun to reload it. I don't know about that. I've got my trusty gyrojet pistol. It's a rocket gun.
Oh, okay, this is pretty cool, actually.
A rocket gun.
It's a rocket gun.
Uh-huh.
It fires little tiny rockets.
Does it fire high ordnance little tiny rockets?
No, it's just a little tiny solid rocket.
Tiny little BBs coming out of that thing?
It's a 50 cal. So no, it's not tiny.
Okay. That cannot fire a 50 cal. Look at that thing. How many of these?
Okay, I just want to point this out. Actually, a black powder muzzle loader, frequently one of their most common calibers, is 50 caliber. Does that mean that a muzzle loader is going to pack more of a punch than a 7.62 NATO? Of course not, right? All caliber means is the diameter of the barrel, right? Your 22 Olympic target shooting pistol that is actually, 22s are extremely dangerous and perfectly suited to a perfect pistol caliber, but they're this big, right? They're like tiny, tiny diameter weapons. And you know what the diameter of the M4 and M16 round is? 223. Right? So a 22, the least powerful pistol round, is virtually the same in caliber to the M4 round. Obviously, they could not be more different, right? The M4 round can reach out and hurt someone at 600 meters plus. A 22 isn't going to be very lethal beyond about 100. Do not test that, though. Do not stand at 101 meters and be like, you can't touch me, bro. That thing will still tear you up. All that to say, a pistol, any weapon, is more than just its caliber.
These have you fired in your life?
I've not fired a single one, ever.
Are they real guns?
Yeah, they're real. They were sold commercially on the market. They just failed to take off, so to speak.
Are they...
Wah, 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 wah. Also, guys, if you want to hear me and Zach rant about guns, be sure to check the description for the Combat Veteran Breakdown podcast, where he and I have a 2-hour conversation about the military, Afghanistan, guns, history. It's awesome. It is truly awesome, and you guys should check it out.
Banned under U.S. regulations, seeing as how it's a frickin' rocket?
Nope, you can totally own one.
Oh, probably because it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, not really. They weren't that great. I mean, basically, if I were to shoot this gyrojet at you from this distance, it probably would do nothing to you. It would feel like getting shot with a paintball.
You said 50 cal, and that raised my expectations.
Yeah, see, look, check this out.
Did you fire that thing?
Yeah, I did. I just shot it at you.
I thought a mosquito bit me.
I know, right?
That's actually pretty impressive that whoever programmed this weapon actually included its extremely bizarre firing mechanics. Whoever did this mod is truly like a gun connoisseur, because this is an obscure firearm with an obscure firing mechanism.
But if you're like 20 meters away and I shoot this at you, then it's really gonna hurt, because then the rocket will have reached its terminal speed, which is enough to kill you.
How much explosive is packed it in there?
None. It's just a little tiny solid rocket.
I have doubts as to the efficacy of this weapon.
I mean, it was intended as a commercial thing. It was never really intended to be used as like a military weapon.
So, okay, let me finish this.
Because there were so few of them made and they're highly valued as collector items, people seem to think it has this mythical status, that it's a god-killing gun, but it really isn't.
Yeah, here's the thing. In the 50s, okay, if you were born, or if you were, let's say, 10 years old in 1930 America, you were born in a country with large parts of the country had no electricity, no running water. You know, there were parts that had very simple automobiles. A lot of people still may have been using... I don't think there were people who were still using like horseback to get around. There may have been some in rural areas, but like widespread automobiles were probably something of a rarity, and the world was just not. It was a very, very simple place. It probably looked a lot like your grandparents' world, but fast forward, you're 30 years old. It is 1950. There are two countries with atomic weapons. Man, while they didn't land on the moon, they can shoot a rocket nearly into space. And we have harnessed the power of the atom to make electricity, basically infinitely. So a lot of this technology, these new changes, and the country was almost entirely electrified. There was television in your household, right? A moving picture. Again, in the 1930s, radio was the idea of radio in your home was the newest thing. Remember, and powered flight was only 20 years old. So it was the equivalent of powered flight being invented in 2000, right? And by 1950, we were about to shooting rockets virtually into space. So the world of 1950 was just so incredibly different, and people really felt like they wanted to connect with this new technology. And they did it in a lot of ways. Again, television's a great example. It took these image radio waves that from the heavy industry and communications technology and put it in the homes of people so that you could watch TV shows. Probably felt incredible to the families of the 1950s. You know, you look at things like nuclear power, right? There may have been cities that were starting to get nuclear power plants to actually electrify them, right? But if you want to connect with, say, the rocket technology of the future, there was not as many commercial applications of rocketry. Well, this was one example of sort of capitalizing on the fad. That, you know how the other invention of the 1950s got its name, the bikini, was named after Bikini Atoll because that was where one of the early atomic tests took place, right? That's how strong the cultural zeitgeist was around these new emerging technologies.
So it's just like the Pancord jackhammer, only you like this for some reason.
I think it's kind of neat.
I've never heard of this gun before.
It's sort of like, you see it sometimes, what did I see the other day? Oh, I noticed that Pepsi, the soda brand, has a rewards program that they call Pepcoin. Obviously, this is sort of a commercialized version of the hype around real cryptocurrencies. Obviously, there is nothing crypto or NTF or blockchain enabled about Pepcoin, but the point is that when there is hype around an emerging technology, you will see both scammers and you will see legitimate commercial enterprises trying to like capitalize on that enthusiasm by marketing some product that like barely has anything to do with it.
Seriously doubt it exists. But here we are, the Star Vegas warehouse.
Oh, it exists. Ow, ow, ow!
Look at me using an actual caliber of weapon. It's actually doing damage!
Yeah, this gun is not great. It's not great. Turns out it's better for target shooting.
What is he using? I don't even know what that weapon is.
You're basically firing a 22. That's how effective it is.
Yeah, it's not super great.
Oh, it's still the gyro jet.
That is somewhat accurate that the officer is the only one with a submachine gun. Everybody else had like semi-auto rifles.
Oh.
Even though technically they should have had bolt actions. But whatever.
Are you saying that's how the original Nazis had the leadership structure?
Every squad had a machine gun, a rifleman, and then usually the squad leader had a submachine gun. And the entire way their squad level tactics worked was to set up the machine gun in a position and then use the squad to funnel enemy soldiers into the machine gun's line of fire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is so funny because it's so different from the US's tactic of pinning a position into place, pinning an enemy into place, fixing them, and then maneuvering to finish them. That training has not changed since World War II. It's about achieving a level of fire that locks the enemy in position so that they can't move, whether that's a whole tank brigade or a 3-man listening post, and then maneuvering around so that you fire on them from more than one side.
So usually the squad leader was the only one with a submachine gun.
I'm glad they did their research for this mod. It's impressive.
I find that kind of interesting that they actually did that. Behold, the PB-9!
Yes, the Peanut Butter 69 did their research for this mod. It's impressive.
I find that kind of interesting that they actually did that.
Why'd you go back? Oh, because I don't.
Behold, the PB-9!
I fat-fingered it. I'm not even drinking. This is water. I have no excuse for this.
Yes, the Peanut Butter 69.
Why was it so loud? It shouldn't be.
Oh, is this that pistol with the integrated suppressor?
It's an integrally suppressed Makarov pistol.
Makarov.
So you remember how I found the Makarov earlier?
Okay, I have a soft spot for the Makarov.
Yeah.
This is an
For those of you that don't know, one of the first pistols I ever purchased was a Bulgarian-made Makarov. And while the ammo was much more expensive, right, this was obviously almost a decade ago before the ban on Russian ammo, but I used to love the Makarov, right, even because it was so very Soviet, right? It had the minimum number of features. It had a safety, it had a magazine well, it had a slide, and it had a handle, and that was it. And that's sort of what made it endearing to me. But what I loved is that when I got my concealed carry license, right, which I, for the record, never used, I, one, had a lot more military training with a pistol because I was an MP, and two, I was just a hobbyist shooter, right? I was stationed in Kansas. There's not much else to do but go to the range and knock back targets. So it meant that I showed up with my dirtbag-looking $300 Makarov, and during the check fire for safety, I shot, you know, I'm no competitive shooter, but I put basically all 25 rounds in about this area, right around the head. And every other shooter with their $3,000 Glocks with glow sights and cup and ball this and aftermarket stocks was all over the place. And so it's just a testament to my firm belief that your training will vastly supersede your equipment, right? If you are super highly trained, then yes, equipment can be the deciding factor. But for those of us, a firearm and a lot of training is going to be the way to go. And so the Makarov to me is a symbol of that.
Integrally suppressed one.
It looks like a flare gun. The barrel is huge.
Well, yeah, it's because it's a suppressor.
Oh, is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah, that thing on the end is a giant suppressor. And you'll notice that the sights, if you zoom in on them, you got a dot on the rear sight and a dot on the front one, and you would just put radium paint on them so you could use it at nighttime. It's supposed to be real quiet. I don't know why this one is.
Probably because the original one was expected to have subsonic ammo, right? In order to get the full effect of a suppressed firearm, they are usually combined with ammunition that is underpowered enough that it will not break the sound barrier, because the sound of that round breaking the sound barrier as it leaves the barrel is going to create its own little sonic boom. It'll add to the cracking noise that, you know, is a gunshot.
So much louder.
The suppressor part ain't working.
Anyway, it's an interesting little gun. It's really cool. I've always wanted one, and I think the reason I want one is because I can't have one.
Not legally sold.
Because they're Russian, and
also,
by all reports, they're not exactly great.
I wouldn't have assumed as much. I've not really heard of the gun. I don't know why you were so excited to get that in the first place, but...
Well, because I've always wanted one. See, look at it.
Despite the fact that it's...
Okay, the Bakelite red grip. I'm sorry. This just, it looks so cool. The Makarov had like a gray, it looked like the grips on a Glock, right? Like a gray, shitty polymer. Those bright red grips with the star, like, really makes it look like a historic piece.
You know what? I wonder if maybe it just doesn't have the suppressor on the end yet. I mean, technically, yes, it's integrally suppressed, but not really, because there might need to be more suppressor.
Maybe we need to find a mod for it.
The PB is an interesting gun, because it pretty much was a design principle of, we have a Makarov, and we want a Makarov that'll be real quiet. What can we do? So they just hacked the whole front of the slide off. I'm not even joking. They literally just, on the original ones, they just took a Makarov slide, and then the buzzsaw just went, eep, and just cut the slide off, and then made a new barrel for it.
Yeah, the Soviets were good at a lot of things, and one of them was looking always at how fast and cheap it would be to manufacture something. You know, in the US, right, we always had this solution of, if we pay enough, we can get the quantity we need of just about anything. And now it's actually considered kind of a national security issue, because if you think about a fighter aircraft, you know, Lockheed may be building it, but they may contract with, say, Dell or Intel or another chip manufacturer to produce, say, the electronic components. And maybe that's exactly what, you know, if not Intel, then like another defense contractor that does electronics, like Harris Corporation, right? But maybe Harris contracts with Intel, and Intel subcontracts with a Chinese chip manufacturer. So if you look 2 or 3 steps or multiply that, right, you look 12 steps down, and you may find that the U.S. military supply chain runs through some of its geopolitical rivals. And this is considered a huge liability issue. The Soviets sort of solved this because every single piece of their military equipment, they tried their absolute best to have it be able to be sourced in-house for all things, in country rather. And this is an example of that, right? They could have purpose-built a facility to manufacture a integrally suppressed pistol of their own design, but it would be so much easier to take something that was already being mass-produced and figure out a way to convert it.
Okay.
The fuck is that?
It's my new weapon.
It looks like someone taped together 2 blue tube grenade launchers.
What the actual shit fuck?
It's a grenade launcher. Would you like to try it? Or you would like to see it in action?
That is a cursed gun.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I also have a cursed gun images video, which was truly, truly cursed.
I think it's beautiful.
I think it's an abomination unto God.
It's a beautiful little snowflake.
I think it's an abomination unto John Moses Browning.
Okay.
Who, as we all know, is firearms God. Where's my grenade launcher? Where's my grenade launcher?
Oh, sorry, I upgraded it.
Are you that's my grenade launcher?
Yeah, all right.
Jesus. One, shout out to Fallout New Vegas for having all this level of customization, but also, wow, that thing looks cursed. These 2 things on the side are the sights that you're supposed to aim down, right? And you're supposed to slide this, well, a crossbar higher and lower based on the number of meters away the target is, so that you hold it at a steeper and steeper angle as you want the round to travel further. Obviously, putting them on the side makes no sense, because instead of giving your weapon a greater arc and increasing the travel distance, you just would tilt it to the side more and not really... It's truly cursed.
Right here. You want it back? Okay.
You took my grenade launcher and you ruined it! You turned it into a monster!
Oh, you haven't given it a chance. It's still
You
fun.
ruined it!
It's good still.
Oh, he's got the AUG.
You gotta try it out.
I love how his companion is literally not even looking at this sequence of events.
Oh, the other one got away now because I was so... You ruined my perfect... Betsy!
Emotional instability is actually a symptom of PTSD.
My grenade launcher, Betsy, is dead!
Ah, we've just established.
As is actually experiencing like very few emotional like swings, right? A sort of deadening of all emotions. That's another PTSD symptom. So the answer is almost everything is a PTSD symptom.
That her name was Betsy.
The fuck even is this thing? My god, it's awful!
Give it a chance.
Well, I can't, it's broken!
Fix it, then give it a chance.
I love how he's talking as though he is shot and dying.
Actually, that's when I picked up. Yours is fine.
Where's mine?
It's in storage.
Why didn't you tell me before I started shooting you then?
Because I've developed a fetish for being shot.
Ew.
Gross.
Thanks for fulfilling my every need, Zach.
Oh, they came back!
Hooray!
Wow. This is taking a turn for the weird, and that's saying something given that this is a Mike Burn Fire video.
Return to the scene of the crime that we committed.
I thought you actually ripped apart my grenade launcher and slapped the barrel onto the back of an M79 receiver.
And you were unhappy with that idea?
Yeah, I was very unhappy with that. Oh my god, this thing's a massive piece of crap.
Is it? What? It's just a hodgepodge of parts, huh?
Yes, it's just a bunch of parts that were slapped together haphazardly to make a thing that looks kind of like a gun.
That's how the Russians make their weapons, right? They slap parts together and call it good.
No, they actually do a decent job building stuff. I immediately do not want this weapon.
Right. This is what we talk about. The Russians, when they design weapons, right, their reputation is for a couple of reasons. One, they don't expect a lot out of their conscripts. They expect them to be, well, conscripts. And often from countries, while Russia may have even decent literacy rates by the mid to late Cold War, and a robust education system, many of the countries that they expected to use these weapons, like AKs, SKSs, etc., were actually developing countries, right? So they could be expected to be wielded by an African tribesman, a Southeast Asian farmer, right? So they had to be extremely simple to use and also extremely simple to manufacture. This is both to be able to produce new weapons wherever they were based on the design, but more importantly, it was meant that the country fielding them, or even, sub-national group fielding them, could make parts in-house to repair them.
Weapon anymore. Come on.
And when you think about those requirements, you have to design it to be cheap to manufacture, accurate, effective, and durable. It's a testament to just how good the AK is in terms of design.
I'm golfing!
Looks like someone brought a sword to a sign fight!
I made golf Whoa! Bear's leg! Oh! Yes, bear's leg!
Is it a shotgun of sorts?
It's a 44 Magnum, so it's the same thing as like the Cowboy gun, except that it's real tiny. It's basically a Winchester 1892 lever action rifle that's been cut way down, so it's just a pistol now.
Okay, for the record, that level of massacring an 1890s lever cowboy gun is a crime against God, for those of you that need to be told. This is like taking that, my 1938 Mosin and sawing it down into, what do they call it, the oboes or whatever, the obras. Just destroying something historic. There is no reason. We have pistols. You can get a 44 Magnum pistol. There is no reason to ever do this to a beautiful lever action rifle. But fun fact, the lever actions are cool for a couple of reasons. First, they were popular in the Old West because they would use they were rifles that used the same ammunition as many pistols. So you could buy one type of round and it would be in your 6-shooter and it would be in your rifle. The other appeal was that the lever action rifle could shoot multiple times, which was novel, again, for the late 1800s, but it would rely on rounds that had a sort of stubby nose, right? And that's because they would rest in a tube, as they say in the military, nut to butt. The stubby nose of the round would rest against the primer. You can see how if you had a very sharp nose to the round resting on the primer, a hard hit would send that primer off, which would then knock the nose into the other primer, which of course would explode your tubular magazine right as you held it, which is not a great thing.
Ow.
Wouldn't that give it a huge amount of...
There's actually a sport now called Cowboy Action Shooting, which is a little janky and a little cool, where the shooters will be expected to shoot a series of targets set up, usually pretty close, often based on either film scenarios or historic events, and they're expected to use, like this, a lever action rifle and a pistol in the same rifle caliber, and sometimes a shotgun, right? So it's similar to modern 3-gun shooting, but with kind of an Old West feel.
A recoil?
Nah, it's still not bad.
Why not?
Have you ever fired like a lever action in a pistol caliber?
I think if you cut the barrel, it makes the recoil worse, doesn't it?
Theoretically, but there's still a decent amount of weight to it, so the recoil is actually not bad.
Okay.
Are you foolish enough to believe that he will keep his word after witnessing how he treats those who incur his wrath?
Okay, this has some great... This is definitely a DIY mod, because this is just some guy at his computer who recorded this.
Is that lady back there holding a P90?
Junkies over at Vault.
Oh, shit, son!
Hey.
Hang on, hold still.
Come on!
No!
I don't know why you even want the P90 anyway.
Every game has a P90. It's just a rule, right? It looks like it's from the future.
Ooh, it's an ambidextrous assault rifle.
It's not an assault rifle, it's a personal defense weapon!
Okay, why he's complaining. A personal defense weapon, unlike a rifle, which... So, a rifle is defined classically by the fact that its barrel has rifling, right? It has grooves cut in it to give the round a spin as it passes through the barrel. Of course, pistols also have rifling, and a personal defense weapon is sort of like a very short-barreled weapon that Some of them are in assault rifle round calibers, and some are in pistol calibers. But generally, a personal defense weapon is its doctrinal role, and that is for troops who are not expected to engage the enemy with their rifle, right? They are expected to engage the enemy with, say, their Apache. So like helicopter pilots will carry them, or tank crew members will carry them, or I haven't heard of artillery crew carrying personal defense weapons, but maybe you would see it in some militaries in like a self-propelled howitzer. But the idea is that they're for troops who will not engage the enemy with their individual weapon, but they want something that they can at least credibly defend themselves. And this is usually a weapon that's more compact because, again, they have a job to do that isn't carrying around a rifle and shooting the enemy. So they're compact, they tend to be easy to use, easy to aim, and often, but not always, often they are versions of or take a lot of parts from the standard issue infantry weapon. So the AK-74U, the Krinkov, is an example of takes the same magazines and the same round as the standard issue AK-74, but it's much shorter, much more compact, foldable barrel, easily carried by tank crew members and pilots.
Oh God, I'm not using this.
But you said you wanted it!
No.
Yes, those were your words. I hope you die so I can have your gun.
No, I wanted the P90.
You said you also wanted this gun.
I never said that.
Jesus.
I never once said those words. What is this?
It's a revolver.
No, it's in 4570 government.
Okay.
What? I've never heard of that caliber in my life.
Hey.
You don't want a revolver in 4570. That's stupid.
What's your preferred revolver caliber?
Anything under 4570. Or 500 Smith & Wesson, because 500 Smith & Wesson is stupid. Never buy a gun in 500 Smith & Wesson.
So 4569, nice. What don't you like about it? The fact that it's too powerful?
The fact that it weighs 7.5 pounds. Revolvers should not weigh 7.5 pounds. They also shouldn't be in 4570.
You know, people put a lot of effort into some of these weapons. Just like they put a lot of effort into the mods.
Oh yeah, they put a whole lot of effort through it. I can see through a hole in the rear sight. That isn't the rear sight. I'm looking through the frame of the gun right now.
Well, Zach, why don't you use the gun that you made? Oh, that's right, you don't make mods. You just complain about...
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Okay, what is he talking about with the round is too heavy? Well, here's what he's talking about. So a bigger round can do a lot of things for you. It can have a heavier bullet, but it needs to have more propellant to drive that bullet forward. And so you end up with this scenario where larger calibers often require more propellant. More propellant needs a bigger case to hold it, and a bigger case is just going to be, well, an overall heavier and more voluminous round. And this, for the first iterations of like bolt action rifles around the turn of the 19th century, was not seen as a huge problem, right? There was an expectation that engagements were going to happen at huge distances, right? And so you needed a round that could travel and maintain lethality across 1,000 meters plus, right? Because you were going to be shooting not at an individual, but at an enemy marching in formation. So you just had to kind of send it to whom it may concern, round shot, and let sort of luck do its work. But what militaries found after World War II is that in the age of sort of maneuver and mechanized warfare, troops were meeting each other much, much closer together. And it was a huge logistical burden to haul around these gigantic high caliber rounds to and from the battlefield. Crucially, it also meant that if you wanted a troop to carry, more than say 120 rounds, it was actually a tremendous amount of weight. And if you wanted those rounds to be held in the weapon, in a magazine, detachable or non-detachable, that it added a lot of weight to the magazine. All of this, they realized, could be solved by having a smaller round that maybe wasn't as accurate past, say, 300 to 600 meters, but could be lighter to carry. You could fit more of them into the weapon's magazine. You could fit more of them on an individual soldier. And crucially, you could fit more per weight, right? More rounds per ton. For things like shipping them in the belly of an aircraft, shipping them in a truck, shipping them across the ocean, all of which were real concerns, again, in the era of industrial warfare. And so that's why you have these calibers that are so big that they're sort of silly, but also really logistically annoying. Again, they require a weapon that's so big for not a lot of return. Again, the only scenario I've heard that makes sense for calibers like 500 Smith & Wesson is for people who live in like Alaska and have a realistic chance of having a hostile confrontation with, say, a grizzly bear. And if you have to take down a grizzly bear, then you actually do need a large round to both penetrate the hide and damage the vital organs. But with the exception of those folks who need a specialized type of weapon to handle a very specialized type of threat, most people, those large calibers are just sort of extra weight for no real gain.
Hey, this weapon's pretty effective.
I love always like it's really effective because he shot someone in the face with it and they were staggered slightly.
Hold ya! Yeah, if you build a revolver that's strong enough to handle 45-70, it ends up weighing like 7 pounds, and it's called a Magnum Research BFR, which stands for Big Frame Revolver. If they were gonna call it that, they should have just committed and called it the Big Fucking Revolver.
Like the BFG from Doom.
But it's who's to say it's not a powerful weapon, though?
I'm sure it is a powerful weapon. It's also stupid. 500 Smith & Wesson is a powerful weapon. And
right, power isn't everything. Power just means there's a lot of kinetic energy behind the bullet. It doesn't even mean that it's going to stop the thing you are shooting at. Bullets can sometimes be so overpowered they pass straight through their target.
Guess what? It's stupid.
If you want to see a really good look at that sort of stuff and some cool DIY experiments, look at Paul Harrell's channel. He is one of those YouTubers who has never upgraded his filming equipment, but still just his willingness to do the homework, to really test assumptions through trial and error and collecting data is, to me, in my mind, one of the things that makes him an awesome firearms YouTuber. I'm sure he's never once been monetized.
All right. Making a Desert Eagle in 50 Action Express is powerful and stupid. It serves no purpose. There's no reason to have a Desert Eagle in 50 AE.
We just... It fires really fast and is kind of loud and intimidating.
He took an AR-15 lower receiver and I put like the recoil system in the top of it. This is just an AR-15 lower receiver. How does it even shoot bullets?
What, you don't think it works?
No!
Try pulling the trigger, see if it works. Hey, it worked!
I mean, I'm trying to understand even theoretically how that could work. You need a bolt carrier group. Like, you can make an AR-15 pistol, but they don't look like that. They just don't. You can punch into Google and see what I'm talking about.
Works!
So dumb. I hate it. This weapon is good, I just wish it didn't look so stupid.
You gotta stop hating on things just because they're unique.
I don't like how it looks. It's boring to me.
Oh, you need a paint job for it, huh? We can pimp out your gun. Welcome to Zach's Pimp My Gun show.
Ugh. Yeah, get him, Willow. What the f—
Yeah, get ready to die, punks.
Mike, what in
What?
God's name is that thing?
It's my gun.
That is so stupid!
You know how you always say,
Okay, at this point, the mod maker is just trolling them.
the longer the barrel, the more accurate your shots?
Yes, yeah,
So-
technically.
I'm never gonna miss now.
I think it's gonna be really hard to get a consistent sight picture with that thing.
Yes.
You're flagging me with that.
No, I'm not. I'm shooting past you.
Also, the bullets are sticking.
They're like out the back.
What is going on with that thing?
It's the best gun.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna put a bayonet on it. That way I never even have to get close to the enemy.
He's got this goofy Smith & Wesson 38 special revolver that is so frickin' broken in every conceivable way. Hope has turned her back on me. Let's go.
That is just the line for that.
I'm gonna get out of the way of that.
Whoop, what the hell? What? Stairs here. Alright.
Can you stop? Can you stop pointing that thing at me?
Am I invading your personal space a little bit? What is that?
Oh, is that a VSS Ventores?
How the hell have you let them
Hold,
get
please.
this far?
Woohoo! I have an integrally suppressed submachine gun now.
Yeah, we talked about this. This is the AK that's integrally suppressed. We saw this in the early, or we saw its older cousin, sorry, its younger cousin, in the previous video.
Oh,
And the VSS is also famous from Escape from Tarkov and was totally the meta for a while. Also, I've talked about this, guys. If there's a game you want to see me stream, 2022 is going to be my year of streaming. So be sure to let me know what you want to see.
whoa!
And subscribe to me on Twitch, because I think that's where I'm going to be doing most of it.
Careful, the safety railing's missing there.
Safety railings, please.
The VSS Ventores, huh?
Yeah, it's in 9x39.
What makes it so cool?
Well, the original VSS Ventores is technically a semi-auto rifle, but it's,
The VSS Ventores sounds like the name of a ship cruiser.
Very special ship Ventures reporting for duty, sir.
So the VSS Ventores is a Russian gun that's in 9x39, which is a really, really heavy bullet. They basically took a 9mm round and jammed it in.
Okay, I just want to point out that the thing he picked up was labeled the Patriot's Cookbook and had a improvised explosive on it, which of course is a reference to the real book, the Anarchist Cookbook, which is sort of like an edgelord's take on like kind of old wives' tale versions of improvised sort of explosives and stuff, right? It was one of those things that was like, you would download it secretly on the on a Tor net. You know, it's the like equivalent, like firearms equivalent to those like George Dillman Death Touch books, where they're just like, I'm gonna show you how to kill any man using the magic 5-finger Death Touch technique. Which my carotids are exploded. You know, yeah, that's sort of what it is, right? It's like, you know, maybe. Anyway, it's not worth looking up.
In the end of an AK-47 bullet.
Normally that doesn't work well.
It's real heavy. It's
You like that?
Ow! 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 Ow!
You like that?
It's somewhat slow, but it's subsonic, so it hits like a truck.
When you say subsonic, I think silenced weapon.
Yes, it is supposed to be a suppressed gun.
But it still hits like a truck?
Yes, because it's a really heavy bullet. Yeah, this is an actual Colt M4A1. What the hell? Oh man, this thing's dope. I want to use this now.
Alright.
Okay, that's classic. Guys, we are going to take it back because we're already at 45 minutes. This has been an awesome look, and wow, we are just 15 minutes in. There's so many more cool rounds to do. But first off, thank you for joining me. Second off, thank you for Raid for sponsoring today's video. Third off, let me know in the comments if you want to see me stream some games, right? And be sure to subscribe to me on Twitch and check out the podcast where Zach and I have a long, winding conversation about all this sort of stuff. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.